Hey guys, welcome back to another Sale Freaks video. Thanks as always for watching. Hopefully you will find this information useful. This is a video basically about how, as you scale, you can actually take advantage of lower selling costs. Okay, so this might sound crazy, but I'm going to show you the difference in terms of a bigger scale eBay store. And in fact, even though I pay out a hell of a lot more costs, my costs are actually a lower percentage than the average seller, which has multiple factors that get taken into consideration when you consider what I'm talking about, because it might sound crazy, but my percentage of my selling costs are generally much lower than most. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how that can be the case. Okay, so be sure to watch to the end. So this is a bit of a follow-up video from our last video, or the previous video, that was all around scalability and moving from a personal account up to a business account in terms of saving money and being able to list more and scale more freely using the eBay store subscriptions. Okay, so what I want to do is just touch a little bit about your eBay fees and what those eBay fees mean to you in terms of how you set up your store. So a lot of people often ask me, what global settings, what break-even settings do I use? Do I add extra percentage on to my settings to cover A, B, and C? And I just want to explain a little bit about that. So free fees for private sellers, okay? Your final value fees, this is what we're talking about here. So 12.8% on a personal account plus 30 pence per order. And that doesn't include VAT, okay? And you have a regulatory operating fee of 42 pence. These fees are quite high. You also can't get top rated seller status on a personal account. Top rated seller status, once you meet a few criteria, which I'm not going to go through today, you actually get 10% off your final value fees, which in some cases can be as much as 1% or 1.5% off the total. It makes a massive difference, trust me. However, on a personal account, you can see here, your final value fee is actually going to be closer to 14% once you factor in VAT. So it's actually another 1.5% higher, which takes it to, let me see, 14.3 plus your 0.42% regulatory operating fee, again not including VAT. So that's going to take you close to 15% as a break even. Okay, I'm going to show you the difference that can make in terms of a business account, right? So personal account, okay, you get your 1,000 free listings a month, as you can see here, but actually you're at a big disadvantage, okay, because of these higher final value fees, and you can't scale, so you can't make more sales to cover those costs because you could only have 1,000 listings. That's just the way it works. Now, for business sellers, you obviously have, and we went through it, the whole benefit of having a basic store, feature store, anchor store, whatever, obviously in terms of the payments. I'm not going to go through that all again. I want to draw your attention to the final value fees, okay? So on a business account, final value fees are category dependent, okay? And they range from as low as, I think, 3%. all the way up to, I think the highest is 12.9% in the crafts category, okay? Electronic smoking parts and accessories as well, 12.9, but we're not going to be selling any of those. On watches or parts and accessories, 12.9, okay? So even at that, okay, this is still pretty much the same as your personal account, okay? The difference is every other category is lower, okay? So you can see here like music, 9.9, musical instruments, 10.9. So even with VAT, you're much lower than everything else. Sound and vision, 9.9. All these other things also have lower percentages, 6.9, 3%, 5% here. It's NFTs. We're not going to be selling any of those. But as you can see, the average is probably a lot lower, or more, not even probably, it will be a lot lower than a personal account, okay? Because you're going to make sales at those like 7, 8, 9, 10% final value fees. And all in all, that's going to pay dividends. It's going to give you an extra percentage back in your pocket, because we're still going to calculate it as a higher amount, and then we're going to take advantage. So if I have my final value fee break even, for example, set at around 12, 13, 14% or whatever, and then I sell something that's in this category, computers, tablet, networking, I'm only going to pay 9.9%. So let's say I have a break-even front end of 10% margin. I'm going to get 10%, plus I'm going to get an extra 3% because I've over-calculated the final value fees, okay? Now, if you way overestimate your final value fees, not only are you going to be making less sales because you're less competitive, you're also not going to get a good picture of what your profitability looks like, okay? So yes, you want to calculate all those things in, but you don't want to be missing out on those vital sales, okay? So again, you know, bear in mind what we're talking about here. Now, if I'm going to set up my eBay final value fees, bear in mind as well, I'm VAT registered, so I can actually claim back the VAT off these. So I'm actually going to become even more profitable as a VAT registered seller because I am calculating this fee with the VAT included, with the eBay transaction fee, with the VAT included. Now, I do not add in the extra regulatory fee, which has just came out recently, which was after the 8th of April. I actually just think, you know what, I'm just going to factor that into my cost. It's going to be a cost of business, okay? So some I'm going to win, some I'm going to lose, because naturally speaking, as we went through there's going to be a lot of these categories that are going to be, you know, way under my estimated final value fee, okay? They're going to be way under it. So that 0.35% or whatever it is for a business seller is the regulatory fee that eBay have introduced. It's just not going to make a difference. There's no point in passing that on to the customer at this point for me anyway, because I want to be more competitive, okay? So I know there's a lot of people out there that just straight up, they've added that fee in, and I know now they're 0.35% likely higher than me, if that makes sense, depending on what the rest of our margins are set at. So I put mine in as 13%. Obviously, if you're a personal seller, you're going to have to put yours in at like 15%. So already I'm 2% better off than you. And even if I sell in one of those lower categories, I'm better off again. Okay, so you don't want to estimate this as too high. Now, the other biggest thing that I see people doing, and I hate, is adding in the final value promotion ad fee. Okay, so that's the extra fee if you're promoting listings. Let's say it's 2%, 3%, whatever you set your promoted listings at. I personally use 2% for promoted listings. Okay, we can see here, this is actually a flagged account. This is my main account. It's been flagged for whatever. It doesn't bother me. I get a ton of impressions. I have thousands and thousands of listings. I think there's like 60,000 listings on this store at this point in time, okay? I've got good organic impressions. I've got terrible promoted impressions. It doesn't really matter because I'm going with the numbers game. It's a volume here, but I just want to draw your attention to this, okay? 28,000 in the last 31 days in extra sales from promoted listings, okay? Now, I've got a return on ad spend of 49.85, which is really, really good. The return on ad spend is the sales divided by ad fees, the amount of sales you generated per pound spent on advertising, okay? So I got 27,000, nearly 30,000 of extra sales because of promoted listings, okay? Okay, yes, I'm losing 2% of those because every sale that sells at 2%, I'll lose 2%. Now, as we have already discussed, some of those categories, I'll actually not lose anything because there'll be a lower percentage than what I have it estimated at. And even at very worst, I'll lose a couple of percent off my margin. Now, what I don't want to do is add this 2% in to my profit margins and pass that 2% on to the customer. Because why? Because it could make me uncompetitive with the next person, okay? I take these sales as a bonus, and, you know, if I sell with that, great. If I sell without, you know, I keep that 2% to myself, which is absolutely fine. I don't want to factor in and pass every single cost on to the customer. Too many people in the dropshipping world want to pass every single cost on to our customer. We're already putting most of our business costs onto the customer, okay? We don't need to pass everything on to the customer. As a business, we have costs. We should have costs. It's not, you know, it's not uncommon for a business to have costs, okay? So bear that in mind. Now, if we look at this eBay store, we want to see what is the overall performance, okay? So the overall performance over the last 60 days is this account has actually sold £63,000 worth of sales, okay? So less than half of that came from promoted listings. Okay, so not every item that you sell is going to be from promoted listings. You're going to get organic sales. Okay, so you do not need to worry about that extra 2%. Yeah, well, I'm saying that I don't need to worry about it. Okay, if you want to factor it into your cost, that's fine. But the likelihood is every single percentage you add onto your margins is going to make you less competitive. You're going to get less traffic and you're going to get less sales. Trust me, the more competitive you can be in terms of your pricing and your pricing against everybody else for that matter, is you're going to make sales. You don't always have to be the lowest price, but trust me, overall, across the board with your items, you're going to see a big improvement if you don't factor in every single little cost into your business. Okay, so we can see here 63,000 of sales. We can see here as well £10,500 worth of selling costs. Okay, now this is the big part that I want people to pay attention to. Okay, 17% of my total sales. So I would suggest everybody go into your eBay account, go into performance, go into summary and see these selling costs. Okay, what does your percentage say? I have an anchor store. It's the biggest fee, £500 a month including VAT. I have a business account which gets me the best fees in terms of business, those final value fees that we spoke about. I don't have top rated seller status, so I'm not getting any particular discount or anything. I actually have a few categories here which you can see that have a very high item not described, which is a very high return rate in categories. So you actually pay a higher percentage in those categories. I've lost £479 this month in fees for higher percentage in that category. Will that be a break even? Or I could be break even. I could have made a few percent. I could have, whatever. It doesn't really matter because it's only on a few of those categories. It's only on sort of 5% of the final value fees. We can see as well, just break it down. The insertion fees are 0 because I have an anchor store, which means it's unlimited listings. Even on a US store, you can work it in a way that you don't pay for any extra listings outside of your store. Like I said, 50, 60, 70,000 items, it doesn't matter. This is always going to be 0. Standard final value fees, we've got regulatory operating fees. As you can see, in the grand scheme of things, this extra 0.35% or 0.4%, it's costing me £286. Okay, in the grand scheme of things, out of £10,000, it's very, very low. Okay, I can absorb that cost in my business. And this brings me on to ad fees. Okay, £669 in promoted listing fees. Again, it's only taken 6% of my overall selling costs. It's taken very, very little out of the overall operating profit. I've got some international fees not worth talking about. I've got some transaction fee credits, which is from items that have been not received or returns or whatever. They'll send you back the fee. They'll refund you any fees for any things like that. And then we've got our account level fees and adjustment subscription fees, which is your anchor store, which is your £524. Okay, so net sales after all that, almost 53,000 net. Okay, the big thing to consider here is 17% of total sales. Okay, so that is everything included. That also includes some higher fees for the items not as described. That includes our regulatory operating fees. It includes our ad fees. And it includes any international fees that all add little percentages here and there, but it's not on every sale, so it's absolutely fine. Well, the regulatory operating fees is on every sale, but as you can see, in the grand scheme of things, very, very little. Now, this is the banger, this is the big one. And if you haven't paused this video and checked out what your percentage sales on your own store is, I really do suggest that you do so. So this is another store, okay? This is a smaller store. Okay, this store has done, £1,300 in the last 31 days. Okay, it's not the best store. It's a bit clunky. There's gaps in the sales. I think the store was on holiday mode for a while, and then a couple of sales here and there. So about £1,366 in sales over the last 31 days. So it's averaging about 45 quid a day. Okay, so if you're a beginner, this is a lot of you guys will be at this point. Okay. Now, a lot of people think, I don't want to scale, it costs too much, cost this, cost that. Look at the cost of anchor store, feature store, or whatever. Or you're maybe sitting on a personal account thinking I get my 1,000 free listings. But we've already said that a personal account is not the best way to go. You get free listings but higher fees. eBay make their money back off you, trust me. And you can't scale really beyond those 1,000 listings, because then every listing after that costs you 35 pence. It becomes very, very expensive. Okay, so the selling costs are exactly the same here. We've got no insertion fees because we're within a feature store limit. We've got our final value fees here. We've got some high item not as described fees, which a lot of people actually don't know that eBay add like 4% onto your fees for categories that you've went very high for the item not as described. We've got our ad fees, £29, very low in the grand scheme of things. Transaction fee credits, we've got some credits back, and then we've got our feature store. So you can see there 26%. Now, why is it 26%? Why is that so much higher? And even if we take away those little percentages for the item not as described, it still is very, very high. Okay, and how is mine so low? Right, mine is so low again. Going back to the last video where I showed you, my cost per listing to have way more listings is virtually nothing per listing. Even though Anchor Store cost me £500 a month, I can scale that store to 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 listings, 100,000 listings, 200,000 listings, whatever I want. And it will bring me in more sales, because more listings equals more sales, and my cost per item or cost per listing goes down drastically, bringing in more sales, which naturally will bring my selling cost down, because I can only realistically pay final value fees, because my cost of listings is never going to change, it's never going to go up. It's going to be £500 as long as I maintain that high amount of listings per per the Anchor Store. If you have an Anchor Store, you've got like 5,000, 6,000 listings, it's not worthwhile. You need to be pushing to 10, 15,000, 20,000 listings. But that extra, whatever it is, 9% is going to make a massive difference overall. Okay, I'm 9% more profitable than I would say a lot of stores out there. Even this is very high, okay? But I would imagine a lot of people watching this video, they'll look at if they have a basic store, a feature store, and they've only got like between 500 and 1,500 listings or 2,000 listings or whatever, your selling costs are going to be higher than mine, which means I can have lower front-end profit margins and still be more profitable than 90% of people out there. And it's as simple as that. Check your selling status. Anyone that tells you that you should be sitting around and not scaling up is not taking these things into consideration. Now, yes, you can still be profitable with, feature stores, multiple feature stores, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 listings. You can still be profitable, but you will be, it's just a no-brainer, you will be more profitable with a larger store, okay? And you can have multiple larger stores and you can bring that selling cost down. And that, people, is how you can get way more profit, scaling your business up higher. And let me tell you as well, people think that software costs actually go up, but actually software costs, the price goes up, but the level of value you receive actually goes exponentially higher as well. So, yes, you may pay a higher figure per month, but that higher figure allows you to list more items. So as you scale up, you're actually getting way more value for your money, and you become more profitable, not only because you make more sales and more profit per sale, but actually the ratio or the percentage of your selling costs is drastically reduced. And that is it. I am out, folks, and hope you found that useful. I'll catch you on the next video. I'd love to hear your comments on this. I would love to hear you posting what your selling costs are. I would love the questions to come. How can I help you bring those selling costs down? That's what we're here for. We are here to help you become more profitable, make more money, keep more money in your pocket. Thanks, guys. Peace.